Hey there. It's me, Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access, link in the comment, thanks. Monday, June 30th. Sarah spent a little more time walking today, but it makes her really tired. She's also spending more PT time in the pool, because it builds up strength by offering resistance to her movement, and is low impact on her remaining knee. I can't go in the water with her, because I can't figure out how to wear a bathing suit that wouldn't give away secrets. Sarah had mentioned that to Mrs. Holding yesterday. We sat down in the chemo waiting room and found it nearly full. I was back in my bibs again, this time with a 101 Dalmatians shirt underneath. I don't know if they were short-staffed in that area, but things were moving slowly. A tall, striking young African-American woman, totally bald and not wearing a head covering, came in, looked around for an empty chair, and sat in the one next to us. We had noticed her a few times before, but had never made contact. As I was trying to read a Star Trek novel, I noticed that she kept glancing over at me. "Pardon me," she finally asked in a mellow voice, "you look so familiar to me, and I can't place you." She told us that she Amanda Perkins, and lived in the city there, so was here on an outpatient basis. We introduced ourselves and said we were from Fort Russell. Fort Russell? That's it. Don't you play on their women's basketball team? It was time to fit into my Julie role. Yes, that's right. I just graduated. Didn't we play against each other? What school did you play for? University High, for 3 years, but only the first few games this season, she responded. Then I got hit with a truck called Hodgkin's disease. I had the usual round of treatments through the winter, and I was getting better, but not quite better enough, so here I am again. But I remember you from last year. You beat us on your court, and we barely squeaked by on ours. You play guard with real attitude. I was impressed. I wasn't sure how much farther I could go with faking it, so I nodded lamely. Sarah Beth chimed in. Oh, yes. The University High game. You'd better remember that one, Julie. Central was still ahead with 3 minutes to go, you fouled out, and they lost in overtime. You were in such a foul mood that I just wanted to lock you in your room for a week. Oh, yeah, I grinned ruefully. I was trying to repress that one. No matter how much they told me it wasn't my fault, that I didn't blow the game by fouling out, I wouldn't believe them. So, it's nice to meet you off the court, Amanda. We talked. She worked at a craft store part-time. Her hopes for a basketball scholarship had been put on hold, at least temporarily. I told her of my plans to go to Westland, and that if she got the Hodgkins licked, I'd love to play with her rather than against her. I think it was your hair that made me remember you, in addition to your in-your-face playing, she told me. With all those tight curls, it looked like a blonde afro. Excuse me, I hope you don't mind a bald chick commenting on your hair, but is it naturally that curly? No, it's about as wavy as Sarah Beth's, I said. I've permed it for years, mostly because it's easy to take care of for sports. I like it, she said. And Sarah Beth, your hair is gorgeous. I love it. To tell you the truth, Amanda, I said, you look pretty great without yours. I admire you being brave enough to go wigless or scarfless. I don't want to embarrass you, but do you always go like that? Sarah Beth was looking on with intense interest. Not always. I wear a wig to work and to church on Sundays. My dad's a preacher here. But in between time, it's mostly like this. My boyfriend loves it, by the way, and says that I should keep it that way after the chemo stops. I tell him he's crazy. Sarah Beth cut in. I'm glad to hear you talk about it. The doctors mention it, but they don't really know about it from our end. I'm really fearing losing my hair, and I'm glad to see someone else handling it so well. There aren't any other teen girls at Hope Haven who have lost their hair, so it's nice to have someone to talk to about it, besides Julie, and I haven't talked much with her about it. It's just not something I'm comfortable with, yet. We had a really open, helpful talk about Amanda's experiences. Amanda asked Sarah Beth how she thought her boyfriend might handle it. Mark and I are really close, Sarah said, glancing at me, and he isn't going to get all bent out of shape about it. But he does really love my hair, and I think it will be tough on him, too. I tried not to look smug. Amanda looked at me. I think your sister will do just fine, she said. It's evident that she has a good support system, and that means a lot. And she'd look good with or without hair. Now I imagine that if it was you who were losing your hair, you'd probably be just like me, wouldn't look back, and just go for it. What makes you say that? I asked. Your basketball attitude shows through. You are your own person, and don't care that much what other people say about how you look. Not that you don't look nice, I don't mean that. But you are comfortable with yourself, and look the way you want. You like to look good, but you're no fashion slave. You don't mind making statements, those great nails and funky earrings show that, and bald is a statement. Am I right? I smiled and had to admit she was. Funny, I remember Julie telling me that I could carry this whole thing off because I was comfortable with myself. I guess that I am. Speaking of the earrings, I told her about little Roberta and her fascination with them, and that we wished we could get some little girl clip-ons that she might enjoy. Maybe I can help you with that. We have some jewelry kits at our craft store. Will you be here Wednesday afternoon? We nodded. With that, Sarah's name was called and we waved goodbye. I had to remember to tell Julie about this conversation, just in case the two ever crossed paths. Tuesday, July 1st. A tough day. Sarah Beth had been working so hard in PT that her stump was getting sore. They told her to not use the leg at all for a couple of days. A step backward, figuratively speaking. Yesterday's chemo affected her more, and the nausea led to vomiting. This was the first time, and probably not the last. I helped clean the gross stuff up and took her clothes and bedding down to the laundry while the aides bathed her. She slept it off the rest of the afternoon and all night. I could have left for a while, but she was so miserable and uncomfortable, even in her sleep, that I didn't have the heart to. About 8 p.m., she woke up crying, saying that her leg was hurting. She didn't mean the stump, but her whole right leg. She had very little trouble with phantom pain since shortly after her surgery, but perhaps it had come back since the rest of her was miserable, too, and she didn't have much resistance. It's unfair, she muttered. How could something that isn't there hurt so much? I laid down next to her and cuddled, and we softly cried together. Strange, how for us the in sickness and in health is a reality years before we get married. Wednesday, July 2nd. Sarah is still exhausted, but not quite as rotten feeling. Still no work with her prosthesis, but she had some time in the pool. We did not look forward to chemo today. I had found some plain mint green walking shorts, and a top that looked like rainbow sherbet. Sarah was wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, because she was chilling. Amanda came in. Hi, kids, Aunt Amanda the craft lady is doing her thing. Here's a box of all sorts of goodies, so that you can set up a cottage earring making industry. And there was a box full of jewelry pieces, earring backs, tools, wire, and beads. There were even pads to cushion Roberta's ears from the pressure of the clips. You can be as creative as all get out, Amanda explained. The costume jewelry pieces are free, and you can give me back to tools when you're done. I hope you two are crafty. I hadn't done any jewelry making in my previous life, but it did give us something to do that evening. When I needed tweezers, my fingernails proved useful. Other times they got in the way, but I managed. The 2 pairs we created wouldn't win any prizes at the craft fair, but with bright dangling little plastic bows, hoops, and beads, Roberta could rattle her head around to her heart's content. Sarah was still weak enough that the aides had to help her bathe. After she dressed for bed, she sighed and showed me her hairbrush. Quite a bit of ginger-colored hair was caught in its teeth. It was starting. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access. Link in the comment. Thanks.